Welcome back to Beat the Lockdown. It's a gorgeous day here in the UK, which is perfect weather for our new segment, Festival Face Off. Today's roundtable chat with myself, Tom and Pete will cover festivals from back in 2010. Without further ado, enjoy. And this week we have been highlighting 10-year-old festival of, we picked initially a set of headliners from Reading and Leeds, V Festival, Glastonbury and Bestival. From that headliners segment, I'll go first this time. So the three I picked for headliners were Breathe by The Prodigy. I picked Fire by Kasabian. And I picked Superstition, Stevie Wonder, which I nearly didn't pick, but then it's Superstition by Stevie Wonder, so I had to pick it. Next, we'll go to Tom.
Right, so I had Uprising Muse as my number one. I had Fire by Kasabian as number two. And then number three, I had Feel Good by the Gorillaz.
Interesting. Okay. Pete?
Probably not picked ones that you'd think I would. Like, I'm a big Kasabian fan, but I didn't pick that. I went for Breathe by The Prodigy, Guns N' Roses, and Dizzy Rascal.
Oh, nice.
Fair enough.
This was by far the hardest playlist to have to choose something from. I found, like, other than one song, what was it? Big fan of. I could have easily picked any of the others in a top three.
I kind of thought about them as not listening to them on record, but as watching them at a festival, and who I'd be.
Yeah. The difficulty I had with this playlist is that they, for me, going down the track list, Sweet Child of Mine, fantastic song, but it's been overplayed. I think that's what's ruined it for me. But you're right. If you're watching that live, that's a whole different kettle of fish.
It maybe has been overplayed, but every time I hear it, I still really like it.
Yeah, it's one of those fantastic songs that with an evocative opening riff, and it's just kind of like, immediately it kicks you into it. But wake up again. I mean, that's another one that I kind of, now I'm looking at, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe, but yeah.
I love it, but I always go for the ones that make me want to sort of get sweaty, rather than, and Wake Up probably wouldn't do that.
I don't know if we need to know that, Pete, all the small things again as well, that's another one. But yeah, I mean, so essentially we've gone with, Breathe has got two, both me and Pete, I believe.
Yeah.
You picked Fire, didn't you, Tom?
Yes, yeah, that got 2 votes, me and you.
Okay. And then I think everything else is singles, isn't it? I don't think anyone else picked.
I find it interesting that none of us, considering we're of similar age and we have hung out for quite a while in our younger days, that on all of the nights out that we've been on, and we've been out and rocked to Blink-182, All the Small Things on the stage in the Purple Reading, and not a single one of us chose it. And I don't think any of us would have said it's been overplayed, because similar to what Pete said with Guns N' Roses, every time that song comes on, we are on the stage shouting at a group of people that we've never met before the lyrics to that song.
Yeah, and suffering heavily for it for the rest of the week.
I think that's more
The Small Things is a decent tune, but it's, when you kind of pull it apart, it's more to do with the you know, the nostalgia of it than the fact that it's.
100%. I mean, it's one of those videos that I just remember being on MTV2 just all the time, and it was All the Small Things was in the original Charlie's Angels movie as well, I think, wasn't it?
That is a very good question. I do not know the answer to.
And I say original Charlie's Angels movie, the Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore one, Lucy Liu, which had an absolutely epic soundtrack. There was some really good, like the the Marvin Gaye track that got ripped off on it. It had I think a Blur song 2 on it as well. But yeah, it's a difficult one with All the Small Things, because I agree, I really like it. But the difficulty I had when I was looking at this list is that lots of bands I like, and you know, songs by them I like, but I couldn't when picking all of these from all these bands, I couldn't not pick Stevie Wonder. The only ones really that I was kind of like not even close to picking were Sex on Fire, just because it's so low down the list of songs by Kings of Leon.
I don't really get why that's the song that made Kings of Leon, when it was, for me, it was the point when they went on the.
But it's the popularity thing, isn't it? It's like, you know, that gave them mass appeal. You know, it gave them a wider audience. Unfortunately, I think that music then suffered afterwards. Tom would probably disagree, but being the uber Kings of Leon fan that you are,
I do agree. I don't think that Sex on Fire, I don't think Only by the Night is the best album they've ever done. And I would tend to agree that, yeah, it's the start of the end for what maybe made them very, very popular with a lot of their core fans or their original fans before they became a bit more mainstream. But
as a Kings of Leon fan, what was your favourite album? Or what has been your favourite album, sorry?
Aha Shake Heartbreak, is that the name of it?
Yeah.
Using Young Manhood as well.
I'd probably have to go for their third one, which I think that Camaro one, that's a good tune. And I can't remember. Let's have a quick look.
Yeah, I mean, Aha Shake is almost certainly mine.
Black Thumbnail, that was great. Fans, that was an awesome tune.
Yeah.
Charmer was a bit of a screamer. That's quite good.
This is because of the times, isn't it? The album.
That's because of the times. But actually, I'm looking at it. Actually, you're probably right. Aha Shake Heartbreak is probably better. It's got 4 kicks on it.
I can't think of a weak track on Aha Shake. No. And it's got my favourite Kings of Leon track of all time, which is Milk. We'll need to move on to the main stage of Reading that particular year. So what we now created was a playlist from the same year, but specifically Reading Festival, excluding the headliners, but artists that played on the main stage. So I'll start on this one. And for this one, because it is a 15-song playlist, we picked 4 tracks. So I will start. So let me just get my picks up. Okay, so I picked Float On by Modest Mouse, Hash Pipe by Weezer, Go With The Flow, Queens of the Stone Age, and Mountains by Biffy Clyro. I did have a one that I found it tough to leave off, which was Precious Time by the Maccabees. We'll go to Pete next.
I went for, well, Queens of the Stone Age is one of my favourite bands, and this is one of my favourite tunes by them, so I would Go With The Flow for show. Cribs, I've never been a big fan of the Cribs. I've always really liked this song, so I went for that. Modest Mouse, and the last one was tricky. I've written down Meantime by the Futureheads, but I don't know. I might have to swap that for Biffy Clyro actually, because that is a tune. So yeah, let's go for Mountains instead.
So you've got Mountains, Float On, Men's Needs.
Yeah, and Go with the Flow.
Okay. So
I think maybe if you picked a different song for Futureheads.
I don't doubt for a second we'll probably have more in the coming weeks that you'll be able to. I'm trying to remember which track it is. It's is it Skip to the End you like?
Futureheads are right. And their best one, in my opinion, is Beginning of the Twist on their third album.
Oh yeah, that was it. I knew that was I couldn't remember which Futureheads track it was that you particularly obsessed with. Right, so Tom, you're going to have a big sway on this one, I think.
Yeah, oddly, I think the ones that I've picked, I did not think would, or the ones that I think might sway it, are ones that I didn't think would even be considered by the two of you.
Right.
But I had Precious Time as my number one, just because I think of everyone in there, they're all great, but the Maccabees for me were just a band that I could listen to album after album for a full day.
Well, that album in particular was.
Oh yeah, Colour It In's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number two, I had Mountains by Biffy.
Yeah.
Then I had Misery Business by Paramore.
Okay, interesting choice.
And then four, I had Men's Needs by the Cribs, which is the one I think would be up there.
You see, the thing is, I really like that. I really like that tune, but I don't think it would even be in my top 10 in this list.
I don't think I would listen to many other Cribs songs, but that one, I think maybe it stuck with me.
I never got into the Cribs particularly much. I was never a big fan.
No, me neither, but I do think that's an absolute banger.
Do you remember? I mean, this will only be relevant to anyone in and around the Reading area, but they played at the After Dark.
Did they?
Yeah, quite some time. It was basically they were trying to sort of develop their live music portfolio. They were trying to do some live music nights. And the Cribs did their first big one that they were going to do was the Cribs. He did it, and I don't think they ever did another one after that. So, but it's difficult. I mean, I struggled a little with this one.
Very strange. Modest Mouse, the two of you chose that, didn't you?
Yeah.
What is it about that song? Is it Modest Mouse in general, or?
No, that song in particular.
It's the only Modest Mouse track I know. I just think it's really good.
Okay. Cool.
It's particularly good. They both again, actually, that's quite interesting because they both got a connection to Johnny Marr, haven't they? Because the Cribs toured with him as a guitarist for.
I think he was on two of their albums.
Yeah, and I think that
at least one
Mousetrack has him on it as well.
I seem to recall hearing something about him working, but I don't know about Modest Mouse. So
no, but that I mean, but again, this is similar to the last playlist. There's a few on here that for me remind me a lot of nights out at the Purple Turtle, for example.
Did either of you give a moment's time to Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit in your decision?
I mean, again, another one that takes me back to the Fez.
But to be fair, I mean, Limp Bizkit are bloody awful, but if I had to pick any song out of their oeuvre, that would probably be it.
see from compiling these playlists, one of the things that has been quite interesting is the is looking at the videos of these particular tracks. And I'd completely forgotten that Dre and Eminem and Snoop were all in that video. Yeah.
What floor of Fez is this song classified on? Is it a third floor Fez or is it a second floor Fez?
That would have been a second floor Fez song, like middle floor. For anyone watching this that's not from the Reading area or hasn't ever lived in the Reading area, the Fez Club was an alternative club, shall we say, and Moroccan themed. I'd imagine would probably get close to. Yeah. And there was a particular night that most people went to liked a particular type of music. Downstairs was that kind of golden era of indie electro in the early to mid noughties. The main floor, middle floor was rock and metal, and then the top floor was your heavy stuff.
Danish rock.
Really? Yeah, lot of black clothing.
I just thought it'd be a bit unfair to not mention the Libertines at all.
Yeah.
For some reason, when I was working through this, it just kind of, I listened to it, but it just didn't really didn't make me think of it at all. But looking at the list as it's written now, I think, why haven't I picked that? And because it's a brilliant track. But then looking at, even though I'm not really a big fan of the Cribs, I still think Men's Needs is probably a better tune. And the same with Float On by Modest Mouse as well. So even though I think it's brilliant, it still doesn't quite make the cut. But I just thought it would be a shame to not even.
I think so. But yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I mean, I was never a massive Libertines fan. If anything, it was one of those where I kind of rebelled against liking them because they were one of those bands that people were like, oh, you've got to love the Libertines. But I do like Can't Stand Me Now, and the more I've progressed from the just hating bands that people tell me I have to like, I do like them a little more now. There was an era of which every single edition of the NME just seemed to have the Libertines or Pete Doherty in the first 3 or 4 pages, and it just or on the front. It was just so irritating.
I think if you'd asked me about 8 years ago to review the same playlist, then they would have been included in my list. But I think I listen to them now and just go, I can't be bothered.
Yeah, like I liked them a lot, but I don't really listen to them much at all anymore. Like if they come on, I'll happily listen to them, but I don't tend to put them on by choice.
Right, so I think if we're picking 4 from that list, I think we're going to add a 5th because it's going to be difficult to separate them out. So we're going to have Float On, Modest Mouse, Mountains by Biffy Clyro. We all picked that up. Men's Needs by Cribs, you two picked it. Go With The Flow, Queens of the Stone Age, which, did you pick that, Tom?
I would like to give it an honourable mention, but no, I didn't pick it.
Right, that's fine. So it got 2 votes anyway. And the other one would be Precious Time, I think was the 5th, because it was my honourable mention and Tom picked it. Right, okay, so we will now move on to the NME stage from the same year. So this is, in case for any reason somebody who's listening to this hasn't been to Reading or Leeds, this was the 2nd stage at the time. Tom first. NME
right.
stage.
I thought I would struggle with this just based on the name of the playlist, but I found it a lot easier than I thought I would. First, I had Little Lion Man by Mumford and Sons. And yeah, I love it. Then I had This Scene Is Dead by We Are Scientists.
Mm-hmm.
What Went Down by the Foals, and fourth I had Tenderoni by Keeley.
Okay.
I didn't really find. I mean, I don't know a lot of the other band. Like,
see, I found this one. I found this one really tough. I won't lie.
Really?
Yeah, but we'll discuss that in a moment. Pete, your picks.
Two were absolute no-brainers for me. That was What Went Down by Foals, and what was the LCD track? North American Scum. Yeah, they were absolute no questions. I ended up for the other two going for Two Door Cinema Club and The Joy Formidable, which I think is an absolute banger.
Yeah. I don't think I'd actually listen to that knowing what it was.
No, it's you really should. It's if it's what I'm thinking of, because I didn't actually get a chance to listen to this playlist. It's it ends with this amazing drum. I don't want to say solo because I think everything else is still playing, but it's just this ends on this 1 minute long drumming bit, and it's just pretty epic.
I've got to say, I mean, of the playlist, it wasn't one that I picked up necessarily, but that album by Joy Formidable is a really good album.
It is.
Right, so my picks are. What did I go for? I went for Two Door Cinema Club, what you know, as well. I went for Klaxons, It's Not Over Yet.
Oh yeah.
I went for What Went Down as well. Absolute tune. Probably my favourite Foals track.
Yeah.
Probably at the moment. And then I went for Funeral, Band of Horses. My honourable mention was Seen as Dead by We Are Scientists. My favourite We Are Scientists song, and it killed me not having it in my four, but I couldn't not pick one of the other four.
I really thought you would pick Pendulum. I really thought you would have had Propane Nightmares on your list.
That album I absolutely loved, and I saw them on that tour twice, I think. I actually didn't see them at Reading that year. I'm not even 100% certain I was at Reading that year. I think I went to Glastonbury instead. But I'm not a fan of Propane Nightmares. It's okay.
With this one, I had two dishonourable mentions.
Yeah.
In that I thought they were awful.
Yeah.
Give Me What I Want, Kids in Glass Houses, which we've all discussed before. We think it's just a kid that's shouting at his mum in a shop asking for something that he can't have. And Starstruck 303, mainly because it was a song I'd forgotten existed. And then when I listened back to it and realised Katy Perry was on it, I was thinking this is not the song I would have ever expected to hear at a Reading festival ever.
Yeah. 303 were fucking awful. They did that one with Kesha, which was the worst. And if I can remember, this one is equally as bad. So
genuinely, listening to the lyrics this morning, I don't think you'd be able to get that released necessarily now, talking about what they're talking about and the description.
But also, I think it was that sort of era of like LMFAO and bands like that, or groups like that, where it was like kind of, I don't know, I don't want to use their phrase of party rock, but that kind of like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've not listened at length to much 303 stuff. For them to get on the Enemy stage, I assume that some of their more non-featuring artist stuff is maybe a little more tolerable. But yeah, I picked this one I don't really know why I picked this one. I think probably because I didn't want to have to listen to more 303 tracks, and I knew this one, so I put this on. I think, yeah, I mean, difficult with this one. I would have picked North American Scum if it weren't for the fact that there were other tracks on here that I prefer. The reason I picked the 4 I picked was because they were 4 tracks that at times I, in some way, shape or form, obsessed with, like as in they were just on every playlist I had for a period of time until I over-listened to them. You know, that Two Door Cinema Club track, I mean, that album as a whole is just awesome. The Klaxons, Not Over Yet, I think that's my favourite Klaxons track.
Klaxons, like the Libertines we were talking about, they're one of those bands that I just, like, I liked at the time. I got rid of the CD quite recently because I thought, you know what, I'm never going to put that on again. It's
difficult with that because as a band, it was fairly obvious at the time that this was going to be one album and bust kind of thing. I know there was another album, but yeah, the less said about that, the better. But that album in particular. Sorry, what did you say, Tom?
I said I think I thought when I listened back to it today, I forgot they existed as a band.
See, I saw them live quite a lot, just by random coincidence, really. Just sort of like going to visit people, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to this gig tonight," or and that kind of what was it called? New rave, they called it.
Yeah.
That was coined by the end. I think coined by the end.
Do you remember? Off the back of that, anytime you'd walk into some shop, whether it be like Top Man or H&M or something like that, everything had neon on. Everything, any pattern had neon. It was bright green, it was bright pink, bright orange, bright yellow.
Yeah.
You couldn't get a normal T-shirt for love nor money.
What I found so odd about that Klaxons album, though, is that it went from being something where it was like people were really excited about it and like this new scene, and it was like bands like them and the Sunshine Underground and people like that. And
Sunshine Underground were a bit before that.
A
couple of years at least. Their first album, at least.
Maybe, potentially. I'm trying to remember who else was on the Enemy New Rave tour. I've got a poster somewhere with it.
So yeah, having said that, I'm talking bollocks. They maybe a year before, but actually they weren't that. They weren't that. Obviously.
And then it kind of became like a fairly well liked album, and then everyone kind of started to forget about it, and then it won the Mercury Music Prize. It won the Mercury Music Prize, but way after it had been, like, I'm sure it had already been out.
It had been out a year or something, and then they almost circled back and said that it was song of the year.
And then that completely harpooned their popularity, basically. It seemed like at that point it was like, all right, yeah, we've been hearing this album for 2 years now, mate. Like, move on.
I don't know about you. I don't really feel like the Mercury Music Prize is as prestigious as it once was. I don't think I've heard someone get it and then go on to great success for a long time.
I think they've dropped some clangers of late. Like, was that Speech to Bell? Who everyone was just like, really? And then I don't think she's really done much since, sales-wise at least.
I remember the first one that I kind of was like, oh god, this is dreary. Was that Anthony and the Johnsons one?
Okay.
Never heard.
I think that won it.
Yeah, that was the year when loads of popular stuff was nominated, like Kaiser Chiefs, Maximo Park, Hard Folly. They're all nominated.
I think that cut deep. That this like really dreary album won it based on that. It's like Gary Jules being Christmas #1 all over again.
I was fine with that.
Let's see. I don't have an issue with the song. It being Christmas #1 really wound me up. It's like, why would I want a dreary, miserable song as Christmas #1? You know, particularly since it beat The Darkness as well.
It didn't beat The Darkness. I mean, well, it did beat The Darkness, but it beat X Factor.
And it also was also that was the year with Kelly and Ozzy changes as well, wasn't it?
Possibly, but it didn't beat the Darkness to number 2. The Darkness was number 4 or something, number 3, number 4.
Yeah, I think Changes was number 3. I didn't think that was an X Factor year, or
yeah, it beat. I think it was like it's like a group. They did it as a group.
Oh, that wasn't the Lennon cover, was it?
I don't know.
Because that was awful.
I haven't paid attention to the charts for 20 years now or something.
Yeah.
I'd say of all of them, the Darkness have come out of all of that winning way more than the rest of them.
Oh, yeah. God, yeah.
Well,
but yeah, that's because it was a proper Christmas song. That's why. You know, because you so rarely get that now. Like, you don't get very many people actually making a new Christmas song that has that mass appeal to it.
Yeah, I hear it that often though. It's not one of the big boys yet.
Yeah, it's not Christmas, mate. That's why.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a tough one, this one. So we definitely probably, let's have a look here. Seeing Is Dead, I think, is a definite.
Well, I didn't vote for that.
I don't care, mate. No, Tom picked it, and it was an honourable mention for me. What Went Down is the most solid one. We all picked that. And then it was pretty difficult because I think we're all... What You Know was another one as well. And then it's tough because North American Scum got 1 vote, Little Lion Man got 1 vote.
Did you not vote for the LCD Sound System?
Me? No, it was an honourable mention, so that might have to be the winner with that one. Okay. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really helps us out with the channel. And don't hesitate to get in touch if you have ideas for future content.